What do you think the major mistake as parents are making that's hindering our children in finding?
I think we assume we know best.
So as parents, we come to the conversation of
Yeah.
our kids knowing
And-
who they are and what their work is.
Right, and my 3 boys, I know I have fallen into that. I know best for you, and there were several times. Well, I remember very vividly my oldest son, who's now just graduated from medical school, and he's a resident, and he was very academic, and he wanted to take piano lessons, and so I just assumed if I had any other kids, they'd all want to take piano lessons, and so my middle son, who's very much more ethereal, and so I started in piano lessons. He just hated it, and the teacher would say, "You've got to make him practice more."
And
he would cry all the way.
This is piano confession.
No, it is. It's terrible. And somehow someone told us our kids had to play the piano.
Like we would have smart kids if they played the piano or something.
And when my boys were always into sports, and they're if you know my boys, they're quite rugged. And so David, my middle son, he just loved film. He was always making little films. This is before films on cameras. We had video cameras. And he really started enjoying improv. And he learned about improv somehow. And then one day I thought, what if I just broke away from music, as my mom said, no, you've got to learn piano, and just had him study improv. And that was, to me, where he lit up.
Yeah.
He really stepped into his own. And then for years he studied improv. And then my youngest son, I have 3 boys, he's been, and then that's, I actually joined the 3 of them together. They just are very close, even though they span 10 years.
Right.
My husband and I just had kids over 10 years.
So letting our kids go, right? So this
Right.
is that purpose of helping people
But there's
steward
another
that safe
mantra
place.
that I really have seen over and over, and we have it in the lab, we say it in the lab. People care about what they help create, and they're responsible when they care.
People care about what
They help create,
they help create,
and they're responsible when they care.
and they're responsible when they care.
And so we know if we follow that, and that's something that I really try to hold in the lab, keep everything on the shoulders of the teams in the lab that can be kept on the shoulders.
Yeah.
Let them do their own work as much as they can. But with children too, with our own kids, if we follow that mantra, they become invested in their lives. But actually what really ignited me into, that I think was the point that I was able to see, to make a shift that actually led to the lab, was I was in Chicago attending a speech from DeWitt Jones. He was a longtime photographer for National Geographics. And I'm telling you, we were in an auditorium that was 50,000 people, and that is not an exaggeration. And I was, as always, buying the ticket at the last minute, so I was all the way up at the back. I was sitting in this huge auditorium with I was resting my head on the back of the wall, and I was listening to him talk about, he followed his passion, his creativity, and that even though sometimes it was hard and he didn't know the way, he would wait and hear calling, and he did his best work, and he always studied how to take pictures, fantastic pictures, sitting in a tree for 3 days, or hiding under a bush for some animal to come by, or just different things. And he talked about, he said, I learned more that I had to listen to my heart and then follow what my heart was saying. And he said, that was following a creative path. And he said, you all have creativity within you. And then he said this thing to people in the audience. He said, how many of you, if you could right now ignite your creativity and your creative spirit, you would say, yes, I'll do it, stand up. That whole auditorium just stood up. And I had the effect of it because I was all
It's
the
like
way
an altar call. It's like God's altar call. I created you as creators.
Right. And so at that point, it was so visceral to me because I was in the back, I could see it, and I felt that was sort of providential.
Yeah.
And I just said right there, I know what I need to do. I need to study creativity to teach people because this response was overwhelming to me.
So
I went
what
right
are
out,
the lies we have about creativity?
that we're not creative, that we can't be creative, only artistic people are creative, or only people that grew up in families of musicians are creative, that I'm not creative. But this is my message to people. Great leaders are creative, and everyone's creative.